Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to check out Star Wars X-Wing 2.0. Yes, I took the plunge and decided to check out this version of the game to see how it compared to X-Wing 1.0, well, now it's X-Wing 1.0, and how different the mechanics are, because while they've dumbed down some things in this version, they've also added new ones. And what I'm going to do, I've got a series of videos lined up to sort of look at different things. This particular video is just to show you what you get in the core set of X-Wing 2.0. And I'll give you a quick rules primer too for those of you that are completely new. But I've got over, I think, 100 videos at this point of X-Wing 1.0. My son and I play a lot of games on that playlist or that series, so if you want to see how the game works in detail, check that out for sure. But this is just to give you a quick look at the core set for X-Wing 2.0. So here's basically everything. I have a sampling of tokens out already, but as you can see, there's more in the box. A ton of it. There's also 3 models that come with the game, just like in X-Wing 1.0. There's 2 TIE Fighters and 1 X-Wing. As far as the tokens are concerned, you've got some familiar looking ones and not so familiar looking ones. For example, this is one of the new ones that it's part of the new mechanics that are in line with X-Wing 2.0. This is a force token. Certain pilots are force sensitive and can use force tokens to modify dice, and some of the cards that they get or the abilities that they have can use force tokens to modify or enable certain actions. And there's a ready side and there's like a spent or exhausted side. You've also got energy, which is new to X-Wing 2.0. Basically, cards like Proton Torpedoes or other abilities may use these charge tokens, and then whenever you use it, you flip it to the other side. Now, in some cases, you can get charge back, depending on whether or not the card says you can. If you take a look at, say, Elusive here, this requires a charge token. Now, if I were able to regain this, there should be a little yellow up arrow pointing, showing that at the end of the round I would get that back. So in certain cases you can earn charge back, other cases you can't. Some are, again, familiar looking, like this is your stress token. You've got your evade and your focus tokens. You've got shields, which are now double-sided. So as you lose shields, you'll simply flip them over instead of discard them. And I guess that's for the benefit of cards like R2-D2 that allow you to regenerate shields. You've got a disarm token here. You've got a critical here and an ion here. This is the first player token. You've got ID tokens. Now that's something I was actually quite surprised with. They've redone the whole target lock thing, or at least the way you do it. In X-Wing 1.0, you had 2 target locks. One was blue, one was red, and they had the same letter on it. So you had like A, blue target lock, red target lock, A target lock. So you had an A and an A, one blue, one red. And then the person doing the target lock would get the blue one, and the person getting the target lock would get the red one. Now they've combined the ID tokens with the target locks. ID tokens were a way for players to tell the difference between ships of the same type. So if you've got like 6 TIE Fighters out and they're all Academy pilots, then how do you know which ship card that you have off to the side goes with which ship on the field? Well, that's where these ID tokens come in. You'd put a 3 on the one TIE Fighter and put a 3 on one of the cards, so you know, okay, this 3 goes with that 3, this 2 goes with this 2, and so on and so on and so on. Well, they've combined the mechanics a bit. So now that you're going to have an ID token on every ship that you field, regardless if it's unique or not. So, so you've got a 4 on, say, a Luke Skywalker here. So whenever he does a target lock in the future, you would simply use this target lock here, 4. That's it. You would just simply put that on the enemy. You wouldn't need to put a 4 on Luke Skywalker, or a blue 4 on Luke Skywalker, because he's already got that 4 ID token. So they've combined those mechanics. Asteroids and debris fields. Again, if you've played X-Wing before, you'll know. The dials are a little different. instead of it's like it's all, it's going to take some getting used to, but this is how they look now. Before, yeah, you would put this face down and flip it. For those of you new to X-Wing, basically what you do with these maneuver dials is during the planning phase, which we'll get to in a little bit, you're going to choose a maneuver, and then you're going to put it face down, and then you reveal them in a certain order. Again, it takes some getting used to, but this is how it looks now. You've got a little arrow here telling you which one that you meant to choose. I believe in the, I don't have a sampling of my previous X-Wing stuff handy, but it definitely looked different than this. So the maneuver dials are a bit different. You also notice that there's no more green maneuvers, there's blue maneuvers now. And again, in a future video, I'm going to be sort of giving you an overview of what has changed. So for those of you that are new to X-Wing or even old to X-Wing and are like, well, okay, so how is that different from X-Wing 1.0? Hang in there. I'll get there when I get there. It's going to be in a separate video. This is, again, more of a what's in the box kind of thing. You've got your dice, red and green. You got your damage cards, which are, I mean, they're similar. I believe there's less of these direct hits in there now. Before there used to be a lot of direct hits. Now there's probably like 3 of them, 3 or 4. I didn't count, obviously, but there's also some new ones in here too. Players receive these damage cards whenever they receive a critical hit and they're out of shields. As far as the cards are concerned, these are quick build cards for players that are completely new to the game and need help forming a squad to play with. So this is what they would bring: Luke Skywalker and a Red Squadron veteran, or choose one of these two. You've also got, say, this TIE Fighter here, Black Squadron Ace, Academy Pilot. So these are like quick start cards that players can use. They already have the upgrades printed on them so you can see what you get. You don't have to sit here going through all of the different upgrade cards and go, well, as a new timer, what do I choose? I mean, do I put elusive on them, or what do these symbols mean? I don't know what these symbols mean. That's what these cards are designed for. Players that are completely new and don't want to get into the squad building just yet. They've got this here. But again, this is just a quick guide or a quick start. To really appreciate X-Wing 2.0, you really need to get into the squad building. That's where it's at. That's where I feel it's at anyway. The cool combinations that you can make with all the different pilots and upgrades that you got. Okay, so as far as the pilots are concerned, I'll go through these real quick for you. So you'll notice there's no more upgrade bar on the bottom. The game has an app now, which I'll be pulling out here in a second once I get my phone out. But there's no more upgrade cards or upgrade bar on the bottom of these cards. Instead, you're going to be building a squad via an app. Now, if you don't have a smartphone, you can do it online through the Final Fantasy official website. Here you can do new squads, save squads, my collection, card database, and patch notes. So you can click on new squad, I'll log in later. And there's extended game, hyperspace, variants, and custom. And you can hit the I if you want to know what each one does. And I'm just going to go into extended real quick, and then you can choose one of the 5 factions. This core set only comes with the Rebel Alliance and Galactic Empire. The Scum and Villainy, Resistance, and First Order, those are separate things, and there are conversion kits out there, and I have 3 of them, and I'll cover those again in separate videos. I have an order out for Resistance and First Order. But anyway, so let's say I wanted to build a Rebel squad, and I can choose the squad name, I can add a ship, and let's say I choose, oh, I've only got the one choice here, I need to find my X-Wing. T65 X-Wing. And these are the pilots. These are the, like, these cards here, this is basically this. So instead of having to look through the cards manually, you can look through here. I'll just choose Luke Skywalker. If you hit the down arrow, you can see the stats, and these stats should match the card itself, and it does. You've got the 3 attack out the front arc, 2 agility, 4 hull, 2 shield, 2 force, and you can see the little up purple arrow telling you that you regain force at the end of every round. Focus, target lock, barrel roll action, and so on. And so I'm going to hit plus to add them, and now I can add modifications to them, which I'll get to. There's also an entire deck for modifications, but if you want to add them here, you would say hit torpedo, and then it'll let you choose between the different torpedoes. Again, Proton Torpedoes, there's a upgrade card for that somewhere in here. Advanced Proton Torpedoes, Ion Torpedoes, and if I want to add that, hit plus. and there you go. And I can hit back. Well, I didn't mean to do that. Now, that's why you want to log in, so you don't, as soon as you go back and then go in again, you lose your progress. But once you start adding stuff, you'll see your squad points here, 43 out of 200, 200 being the goal or the target as far as what you're aiming for in completing this. You want 200 or less, basically. And every upgrade card that you add or every pilot that you add will add more squad points. So that's the way of balancing the game out. All right, so that's the squad builder. As far as the cards themselves, I'll go through them with you. Another option is simply to download the app yourself or go on the official website and browse through the cards that way. There's Luke Skywalker, and I was going to read all of these off to you, but again, I see no reason to do that because you can easily see it in the app. So I don't want to insult your intelligence and read everything off to you and bore you to death. But there's Luke Skywalker in this one. There's Jack Porkins. There's Red Squadron Veteran. There's Blue Squadron Escort. And these little orange numbers here are the pilot skill. And for those of you X-Wing 1.0 veterans, the numbers are different. Yes, I'm aware of that. Again, that's something I'll go over in a future video of what the differences are between the two versions. You've got Iden Versio, you've got Valen Rudor, I'm going to be butchering names, Night Beast, Black Squadron Ace, Obsidian Squadron Pilots, and Academy Pilots. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on here. Let me go ahead and pull out the upgrade cards so you can see some of these. And the symbol here will match the symbols on your squad builders. So some pilots will have this elite symbol, some will have these astromech symbols in their upgrade. Not every pilot can equip an astromech, which is why you need to separate these out by icons. So you've got things like elusive, outmaneuver, predator, and some of these have changed since, again, there's a bullseye arc. Okay, and again, I don't want to focus on the changes too much here, but you'll notice that on these bases, you've got your standard front arc. It's colored now, but there's also a bullseye arc out the front, and the bullseye arc doesn't do anything special by itself, but it does coincide with certain cards like Predator, and you can activate Predator if you've got your target locked in your bullseye arc. Okay, heightened perception. Instinctive aim, this one uses force. Sense also uses force token there. More force, these are supernatural, those are force abilities. Proton Torpedoes, this is a standard one that many people have seen prior. You spend energy charges now to shoot these things, and you can do that twice. So you don't need to equip 4 Proton Torpedo cards on your bomber or whatever, or use extra munitions. You've got charges now. It makes it a little bit simpler. Astromechs, R2-D2. He still recovers shields for you, but now you've got to take a disarm token to do it. Again, some differences here between the two versions. R3 Astromech, R5 Astromech, R5-D8. Afterburners a modification. Hull upgrade, those are standard. They haven't changed much. You're going to get extra hull point for the hull upgrade, and extra shield for the shield upgrade. Those came with 1.0. S-foils. Okay, now this is one complaint I have actually. I can't keep these S-foils open. The models now for the X-Wings allow you to open and close the S-foils, which is kind of cool. You pinch the bottom 2 and the top 2 engines to open them. And if you want to close them, you pinch the sides. Like so. It's annoying though because they don't stay open. So if I pinch this, there we go. But sometimes they droop. Like if I'm going to put this back on the table, just bumping it lightly also causes it. I don't like it. I really don't like it. I'm sure maybe a lot of people find it thematic, but if it were to lock in place, I would be happy with it. But because it's easy to, if I just put it down on the table and move it, now they're closed again. So more than likely, I'm going to be using my other X-Wings and not this one because I simply don't like the S-foils opening and closing like that. It's not very thematic. When you're shooting someone, you want the S-foils open. That's just anyway. But yeah, in this game, you can open them and close them to do different things. there's two sides to this. Open is just your standard X-Wing. When they're closed, you can perform a boost action. Some of these cards and some of the actions that players can take, you can do one action and then you can immediately do the next action on it, but you have to make it a red maneuver, meaning that you receive a stress token. And stress tokens means that in a future round, if you've got a stress token, you won't be able to take an action or take a red maneuver, that kind of thing. Again, that's more advanced stuff, and I'll get into that later. So yeah, now we're back to this. Okay, so how does gameplay work? That's a loaded question. I'm going to briefly give you the Cliff Notes version here. This is not at all representative of what your average game might be, but you're going to set up your forces, and you're going to have multiple phases. Luckily, the back of the rulebook has a nice outline for you, what the different tokens are, what happens when you perform an attack, and so on. Again, this is the very abridged Cliff Notes version. At the start of every round, there's a planning phase. Players take a look at their dials and choose a maneuver. So I might do, let's say, 1 forward. Okay, it's a blue maneuver. If you've got a stress token and you make a blue maneuver, you can remove a stress token. That's how you get rid of them. And you put it face down on your card, your pilot card, your matching pilot card. And let's say the TIE Fighter does something similar. Let's say he does something simple like a 2 straight. Fine, I'm going to move him back. And at the same time, you're going to reveal these during the activation phase. You're going to resolve them, though, in the order of pilot skill, starting from lowest to highest. So, well, actually, let me back that up. There's a new phase called System Phase. I'm unlearning this game and relearning it. This System Phase would not matter here because there's nothing here that would activate. But during the System Phase, certain things happen where cards tell it to happen. So, for example, decloaking. If you are a veteran of this game and you have, say, a TIE Phantom that can cloak, they've redone the rules, Fantasy Flight, and before it used to be TIE Phantoms used to decloak when they were activated, and then they changed the rules so that the TIE Phantom would cloak at the beginning of the activation phase. Well, now they just added a system phase to where the TIE Phantom would decloak if they wanted to, and then they move on to the activation phase. But in this example, system phase doesn't matter. There's nothing here that would be affected by that. Activation phase, you're going to resolve these in order, starting with lowest to highest. So what we're going to do is, he's got a 2 and Luke Skywalker's got a 5. So we're going to resolve the activation phase first. So we're going to take a look at the maneuver that was performed, which is a blue 2. We're going to find that template, which I'm sure is in the box somewhere because I didn't pull that out. There it is. So this guide would just go right between, there's little notches here. On this white plastic, there's little notches. You just simply fit this like so, and then you put it from one end to the other. So something like this. There we go, and that's very sloppily done for you veterans out there. Yes, I realize that. After that, you can take an action. So as long as you don't have a stress token. And I'm going to go ahead and, okay, so this Obsidian pilot has focus, evade, and barrel roll. So let's say that I took an evade. Okay, and I'll explain briefly what some of these do. And now the X-Wing gets to activate. He did a 1 straight, so I think I've got that here. Yep, so 1 straight, same thing. Okay, and now he gets to take an action because he's not stressed. He's got focus, target lock, he's got barrel roll. I'll take a focus token, that's nice and easy. If I were to take a target lock, I would take the 4 target lock and put that on the enemy like so. But he took a focus. So now we're into the engagement phase. This is where players roll these dice. And I guess I should get these out for you. Okay, so the red ones are attack and the green ones are defense. To see how many dice you roll, you look on your card, you've got 3 here out the front arc. So you resolve these in order from highest to lowest. So Luke would shoot first, and then the TIE Fighter would shoot after that. If they happen to be the same skill, they have something called Simultaneous Fire. So let's say that this is a 5 as well. Luke, well, whoever had initiative would shoot first. Let's say Luke had initiative, which is determined at the beginning of the game. And he shot him and killed him. However, because they're the same pilot skill, this one would still get a chance to shoot back before being removed from the table. Otherwise, because this is a 5 and this is a 2, if Luke destroys him here, the 2 does not shoot back. All right, again, a lot of rules, a lot of little things. This is more of an overview. Anyway, so we're going to roll 3 dice per the cards here. And let's see what we get. Now let's just say we rolled and got a blast symbol. This is a critical hit and this is a regular hit. Let's say we got a critical hit there and a focus. Okay. And now the defender is going to roll some dice. The defender, I believe, gets, yep, that would be 3 defense. He's got 2 attack and 3 defense. Same as 1.0. So let's say he rolls an evade, a blank, and a focus. Okay, so that's what he rolled for his defense. All right, so now we have to cancel out dice and different things like that. We can also use these tokens that we've earned to modify the dice in certain ways. So Luke is going to spend his focus token to change all of his focus icons into hits. So he's going to spend this to change this token into a regular hit. So now he's got 2 hits and a crit. This evade token does something different in 2.0 compared to 1.0. Instead of this acting as a free evade, this turns one of your dice into an evade. So no longer does this, let's say if you were to roll evade, and then use this token, this would in X-Wing 1.0, this would count as 4 evades, assuming he decided to use that evade token. Not the case in 2.0. The way this works is he can spend this token to change one of his dice into an evade token. Okay? And he's going to do that because he sees that he's only got 1 evade here, and there's 3 attack coming at him, so he's going to take 2 damage. So what he's going to do is he's going to spend his evade token to change this blank that he got into an evade. And now we cancel out dice. The focus doesn't matter because he doesn't have a focus token. So the way this works is hits are always canceled out before crits. So in this instance, we've got hit, crit, and then 2 evades here. So these 2 cancel each other out. So that means the crit gets through. What does a crit mean? Well, that's where these damage cards come into play. You deal face-down damage cards to regular hits and face-up damage cards to critical hits. In this case, he was dealt a critical hit, so we deal a face-up card. This is a direct hit, so it says suffer 1 regular damage, then repair this card. Repair means flip it to the downside. So he does that, and then he gets 1 face-down. So now he's got 2 damage on his, and these cards would just simply go on his pilot card. So now he's got 2 damage, and the hull value on these cards are listed again in yellow here. So 1 more face-down card or face-up card, and he's out of the game. And now he gets to shoot back because he's still alive. Let's just say that he shoots, he gets 2 attack, a focus, there's a focus and a hit, and let's say that Luke rolled, let's say he was very unlucky and rolled 2 blanks. Now, we're going to modify dice again. He has no tokens to modify dice with, or no abilities. So he just gets through with 1 hit. The focus doesn't matter. He doesn't have a focus token, so he can't use it to change that die. Luke here, though, has 2 blank, so he's going to take a hit. However, he also has force, which allows him to spend a force token, like just flip it over to the other side, to change a die result to his desired thing. So he can do that, for example, and now this evade would cancel out a hit, and then he wouldn't take any hit. Let's say that Luke didn't have any more force. Let's say it was all exhausted, whatever, and he had 2 blank. The way this would work is he's got 2 shields and 4 hull. The TIE Fighter did not have any shields, but the X-Wings do. So normally, let's say that he was at full shields, he would take 1 of his shields and flip it over to the red side to show that it was depleted. Again, this is just 1 hit would get through, 1 shield would get depleted. And then after that, you would, the end phase would clean up unused tokens, and then like target locks would stay. However, like disarm tokens, any circular tokens basically would be removed during this phase, and then we would start all over again. We would go back to the planning phase, choose maneuvers, move them around, do some combat, and so on. Again, very, very abridged, very Cliff Note-y version of how a turn generally plays out, but hopefully that gives you a small idea as to what you're in for should you decide to pick this up. Again, I've got separate videos coming on how this 2.0 is different than 1.0. I've got I've got two completed unpacked conversion kits here. That's the Alliance over there. That's the Imperials. I've got this Scum behind me, which I've yet to open. I've got two more in the mail. I've got a new table mat coming. I've got some acrylic tokens coming that I ordered. So lots more coming. So stay tuned. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to me on Twitch and YouTube. That way you can stay up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.